Welcome to the Mana Mama podcast. Welcome to a mother's love. Courtney Webb, tell me, my dear, how are you feeling today?
Oh, wow. I'm feeling really good. I celebrated my mum's 70th birthday last night, and she's such an inspiration in my life. She's actually a woman that's kind of getting better with age, health-wise as well. So
Wow.
I'm really, really proud of her, and I'm feeling really good after a beautiful, family fullness day yesterday. Yeah.
Oh, how divine. Thank you for that. And so I just want to tell everyone that's listening or watching, I just firstly want to start, Courtney, with some acknowledgement and praise of you. You are a woman that has just inspired me no end. Since we came in close together, and we've been friends for years. We're allies. That's why you're right here, right now. And you are, Courtney, the most embodied person I've ever met by very, very far. And what I mean by embodied, I mean absolutely inhabiting your physical vehicle with full consciousness and with full range and with full ability and with full pleasure. I don't know anyone else who has mastered that more than you have. And so I just want to acknowledge you for that, to acknowledge your path of seeking of wisdom, of bringing forth keys to the human race in regards to the power of our bodies and our vehicles and what that means for us spiritually and holistically. So well done.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you. It's really nice to receive. And I might just add, you've also been an absolutely incredible ally and inspiration in my life, especially early on when I was really going through a big transition open into HUMANUS, So yeah, I'm so grateful to have found you and come across you and all the work you do in the world as well. So yeah, you're a big part of it all. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, darling. So I wanted to
big
start.
topic in today's world, embodiment for sure.
Yes. So I wanted to start today by asking you, I wanted you to go right into the biggest picture. I like to, go right into the big picture with my deliveries. And so I want to ask you, because this is your passion line and purpose line here, helping humans come into full power in the physical. I want to ask you, what do you feel in your highest picture is the ultimate experience or expression of energy through a physical body? What do you know? Tell us.
Good question. As we, heal our physical tissues and bring ourselves into a higher vibration and resonance and build that inner glow, we kind of in step and build at the same time as the pain body is sort of falling away. We're sort of building a new body that replaces it, and it's a light body. I think that is, what we are here to move into is such a glow up effect of the human tissues, and that's stemming from an enlightening of the central nervous system. So that's what I look forward to talking to you more about today, because we use the breathing to floss the central nervous system. Through the center of the spine. So that enhances the human resonance, and the hue in human, is the glow, so it's up to us all to really, try and step out of all the pain games that we can all just so radically get stuck in and caught up in. And come in on common ground, that we all have this human body with which to come in on, quite literally. Then we can come in on our higher self and our intuition and enhance that. And we sort of step away from all our pain gains and step in on a higher love together, personally and collectively. So I think that'll be a pretty beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
I know there's a pretty big contrast to when I'm in my pain game, as opposed to when I've been really, in accordance with all my body work and, in a good rhythm, doing the breath work often. I'm just feeling so good that it's almost, I feel like it's criminal. Like,
yes, see that.
I want everyone to feel that good, and it's not about outside appearance, although that will glow. It's not about the aesthetics as such. It's about an energy that is just emanating from our center,
Yes.
and it just makes everything okay. So like people take drugs to get that effect, but that's not really the right way that we should be getting it ultimately, so
I want you to just expand in on that. Like when you talk about glow up and radiance and the hue, and like what does that mean actually day to day for you? Like paint a picture for people of how you are in your body, because a lot of people don't even might not even understand what that means. Like, what do you mean by glow up? Like, you share with us what you can do and what you feel in your body on a daily basis, because I think that's kind of going to be mind-blowing for people. Please share.
Okay. I guess it is, on a good day where I'll start with some breath work, to get the cerebral cortex field flowing really well and not stagnant. I generally have a really good day for the rest of the day. Like, it continues on because it sort of magnifies the cerebral effect that we can induce with deep diaphragmatic breathing. So you kind of tend to really come in on a deeply centered and coherent field for the rest of the day. But if I sort of don't do that, it's almost like I'm kind of walking around a bit blind or asleep,
Yes.
So it's like a really deep connectivity that you build with yourself and the universe, or, and you find a whole new flow. So with the breathing, it's about creating, really mobilizing energy in your body and learning how to circulate that, especially against the central nervous system. So through the different core cavities, in a wave-like fashion through the spine.
Yes.
So then you're sort of building energy in the central nervous system and up into the cerebral cortex and down into the sacrum and back and forth. That's the primary respiration in our body that's happening, whether we're involved in it consciously or not. But that's all electricity. That's all electrical. So like everything, everything living, we all have a nervous system of some kind. So that's sort of what we should be tapping into now more than ever, with all the tech advancement, that's going on. That's kind of a whole nother conversation and probably podcast. But so the electricity that flows, that we can simulate during the breath work, radiates into the peripheral nervous system and through all the fascial, tendinous, ligamentous attachments. And that's like the electrical pathways as well. So, your whole body just feels full of connectivity. Your heart field has been, volumetrically simulated as well. So it's kind of had a flush, and it just gets a nice clean out. Your whole system, everything, digestive system, endocrine system gets a lift. You get to decompress your spine, the discs in your spine. The cerebral cortex gets a flush, and you just feel amazing.
Tell us about what you feel, though. Can you like really actually spell that out for the layman? Like, what do you feel? Not what's happening, but
it's
what
a
do you
high. It's a
Thank you.
total
Tell us,
high.
like, can you go right into that, darling? Like, that's the invitation.
It is
like,
a high.
Yes, tell us more.
So, well, it's, I mean, many people have played with, I guess, recreational drugs to get that kind of feeling a little bit, or maybe, you just have a natural high through the day of something, an effect of something you've experienced. Like, oh yeah, it just feels good. Something feels good inside you. And it's about learning to really find where that feeling comes from and supporting that to feel that often as much as you can.
Yes. And that brings me to, a concept that I was taught, sort of shared briefly about in the Andes from Maestro Cucho of Machu Picchu, and he was talking to me and my group about what they call in the Andes pinkanki, which is basically the mastering of what you already have. Meaning, a lot of us are so busy looking outside of ourselves for wisdom, looking outside of ourselves for answers and mastery, to learn the cosmos, to sort of look out, and it's like, well, hold on a second, what about the cosmos within? What about this incredible, miraculous vehicle that we are sitting in? Actually, like, have we mastered that? And over there, Kucha was really basically inviting us to go, okay, so how well do you know your organs? How well do you know your spine? Like, really, are you absolutely connected? And we know that vast majority of humans are absolutely sort of almost divorced from consciousness of their body.
We're conditioned to be like that, so
absolutely, of course, yes. But can you speak to that? Like, I mean, obviously there is so much wisdom and richness and like you said, high and natural high that comes from going within. Can you share about that?
It's like you going home, and so when you have been searching everywhere for home, which is what we're all doing, I guess, in a roundabout way, and then you really find that in yourself, it's like gold, and you never want to lose that again. And it's something that no one else can even touch on. Everyone has their own home to come in on, and when we're rooted in that, quite literally, like the nervous system roots, when they're enlightened, you will do anything and everything to protect that, because you know how valuable you are. And so that's where that's why I'm doing what I do, so that people can find value in their body again, because we're nothing without our flesh. And I think we can get so lost on the spiritual journey and still not really even ever touch on the enhancement of this vehicle that we're in. So it's about grounding more than anything right now, and using the breath to really open into the vagus nerve and the deep parasympathetic innervation that is the groundwork for deep healing. So when we can tap into that home and that really reassuring, deep connected state within ourselves, then that's the foundation for a happy, healthy humanity and a moving forward of the human race, right? We don't have to race anymore, maybe.
A human beingness. No more racing. Yes. And so let's share with the people, maybe firstly in a bit of layman's terms, and then we can go deeper into the physiology of it. But as said in the introduction, Courtney has developed a practice of breathing that is incredibly unique, and really is very different to the majority of breath work that we see on the planet, and we're going to talk about the differences about those later on. Can you just share with us very briefly what your breath illumination is all about?
So I was personal training for well over a decade, and I just kept coming across all the same issues that everyone was kind of having, and just dealing with basic conditioning stuff. Back then I would try to get people to do exercises, but then to do them well and safely, they really had to be connected to the core, the abdominal wall, in particular the inner core. But I just found that over the decade of working with people, no one was connected to those intrinsic fibers of our core. So no exercise was really good for them, And so I just ended up realizing through my own process and of habilitation as well, that it's not till we go right in and build sensory intelligence in the intrinsic core that we're really going to be able to do anything well and integrated. It really was the center of everything. So it's there's so much in it for the health of our spine. So I realized that breathing was, in fact, the most important exercise to rehabilitate sensual intelligence in the human body, because we're getting in touch with moving our fluids. So we're 70% fluid on average, adults. And as we die and decay, we sort of get more and more dehydrated, and in general, and we can sometimes get to 55% fluid. And as a baby, on the other hand, we're up to like 99% fluid. So in utero. So it's really a big relation to health and hydration and connection to our fluid body. So yeah, learning to move just the fluids around through the torso, and the breathing helps to learn how to use the diaphragms like pumps. There's diaphragms throughout our whole body, okay, but the main central diaphragms are the most important, because they really get the torso moving well and help to nimble up the spine and decompress the spine and massage the viscera and everything like that. So the breathing helps to circulate the fluid body on every level, right down into the cerebral level, craniosacral flow. So the breathing started to rebuild sensual intelligence on that inside and against that inner wall of the abdominal, the transversus abdominis. So then if you can imagine fluids kind of in the belly breathing, you're expanding and relaxing. If you can imagine the viscera pressing up against the inner fibers of the ab wall, when you breathe, it starts to build sensual intelligence again. So that started to wake things up for people. Yes. And then not only that, you're starting to also build postural vitality and decompress the spine, because you're learning how to use all your intercostal muscles again, which is so important. And everyone is generally so stuck in contraction and compression, and that's no good for the organs and glands, which are our higher centers. And they're completely our consciousness depends on the health of our organs and glands ultimately. So when we can flush our fluid body and circulate it, and we can get the health of the spine working well with all the tendinous and ligamentous system, breathing just does it all. It is just like a one-stop shop. You really just have to start with breathing to ultimate the human body. There's no way to go around it. No operation, no drug, no nothing, food, nothing can do what breathing does ultimately for our health on such a massive scale.
Thank you. It's so it does change your life when you learn about your body on a deeper level, when you are conscious of the spine, when you start becoming conscious and start to even feel the fluid moving up the spine in the breathing, when you really sort of become conscious of the pineal gland, all of that, it changes your life. And I remember, so, when you came to Peru and facilitated in one of our mana retreats over there, a couple of them, to learn the breath work that you teach, which again is very, very unique. It is not like what everyone else out there is doing. And that's why I really want people to listen up and to learn from Courtney, because it is really something else. And like you said, once you sort of even take a few steps toward coming home into the body, you can't go back. We know that once we have an awareness change in our life, or we gain awareness, you can't forget that awareness. You can't ever, you can pretend,
go back.
You can pretend you've forgotten, but you end up bumping into things if you do that. And it really does change your life. And from that moment forward, you become, very aware of how important breathing actually is, and how much it's, our knowledge of it has been suppressed, outright suppressed. The esoteric wisdom around breathing has been outright suppressed and hidden from us.
All the noses off the Egyptian pharaohs and statues were cut off, broken off.
And tell us about that.
For me, that says everything, about what's hidden and most necessary is our nose as the biggest tool for enlightenment of the human body.
Right.
nasal
Yep.
breathing, you know, we
Yes.
start to stimulate and the air, warm the air, clean the air, and use the conchas in the nasal passages to create a vibration in the bridge of the nose here, this sort of bony sort of structure. And what sits right behind that is the hypothalamus, thalamus glands. So, you know, that creates a vibration in those sinuses and sort of switches on like a light. We get that vibration, we bring that light down into the belly and start to open into the pelvic floor and the abdomen and start to get a beautiful visceral massage with the breathing and we clear out every system in our body. Nothing without the nose.
Thank you. I remember I loved the words you used when you were training us around these, you know, when you tell us to shake and awake
Yeah, that's
these
it.
bones, tell us about those tell us about this area of our body, please.
Well, it literally is a third eye, you know, it's the
Mm.
all-seeing eye, but how awake is that or how healthy is that is dependent on the glands and the hormonal state that we are awake and into, hopefully, with deep diaphragmatic breathing. But if we haven't kind of taken that journey into ourselves, then we're pretty much just, you know, falling prey to anything programming we've learnt through our childhood or that we're watching on TV or courses or whatever. We're just doing whatever we're taught until we take that inner journey and really find home and really awaken into our higher self and our connection with thee.
I love that we're talking about this today because my last guest, Elijah Ray, we were discussing, you know, the love and of modern mystics, and he started to, you know, we talked very briefly about the power of raising the energy in the spine through the cerebral spinal fluid and up to the pineal. And I thought, okay, that means we got to talk to Courtney next. If you can tell the listeners about the basic sort of physiological journey of the breath up to the pineal. Like I know the vagus nerve is very important in your work. Can you share with us physiologically what's happening?
It's like muddy water. You know, it's like using the breath where the water can start getting a bit cloudy. You know, your fluid body can feel a bit cloudy and maybe a bit heavier, and you know, maybe it kind of stirs up all the lymphatics a little bit, and maybe you even get a little bit sick to begin with. That is often you know, something for someone who is quite congested and hasn't done much of that before. So they are big deterrents that a lot of people won't get through the other side of. But it's like, if you distill that water, you know, keep breathing through it and keep feeding yourself lots of water, lots of clean vegetables and fruit and food, and that's like help rebuild, you know, your cells and give them good fuel. And stop emotionally eating, rather eat food as fuel, you know, for the cells. And work with that holistic mechanism of primary respiration to sort of distill yourself, I guess. And the murky water gets clearer and clearer and clearer, and that's when you just have like your A game with like your intuition and your daily flow and your vibe, and you start magnetically attracting amazing people and amazing things that are like, you become a receiver, you know, like an antenna like we see on the outside. We sharpen up and clear the resonance of our own inner antenna, which is sort of like, you can see that as the central nervous system. And you can start broadcasting even telepathically. It's pretty powerful stuff. Yeah.
I love that. I love what you've just shared about the spine and the fluid therein being an antenna. And I talk about that a lot in our courses, that we are really radio stations. We've all got a frequency. We've all got a message to put out, to send out, and a lot of the time, you know, people's messages aren't, or their frequency, their message for the world, there is not getting out there, and that causes a lot of people.
I know all about that.
It causes a lot of people a lot of distress, because they you know, they feel like, God, I'm not doing what I came here to do. But you know, it can even be brought back to, well, how conscious are you of your breathing and of your spine? Like we you know, we're holistic creatures. There's so many people. We are, how to put it, very divorced from our bodies, thinking, oh, like my purpose and my walk here, my message is other than or separate to embodiment and the body, but they are so
It's a lot of denial.
intrinsically connected.
It's a lot of denial, and there's a lot of avoidance, and a lot of, we're all ingeniouses of avoiding the great work we're here on earth, in earth, to do, which is heal Mother Earth, but through our earth, I think. So if that's all we can do, is get our earth ship relationship more pristine and more connected and more grounded and more centered, and just go on our inner journey, through our days, and integrate that into our days with our loved ones and our outer relationships, then you're doing a pretty good job at the moment. Because it's, less is more better at the moment, to be honest. Just keep focusing on grounding ourselves and learning how to ground ourselves better. And like the roots of the trees all go into the earth, if we can just keep our roots clear and in the earth, then I think we'll be a healthy human race. Yeah.
Thank you. Could you tell us about the vagus nerve and, how that connects in with your work, physiologically? Like, can you step through with us sort of what happens physiologically, like the parts of the body that are very key to your breath illumination work?
We're sort of generally in two branches of the nervous system. So central nervous system, okay, we are either going to be in really relaxed or in that field, we're feeling just really chill, or we're going to be quite fight or flight, doing.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's really good to balance these two out. If you sort of imagine it like a seesaw, up or down. You don't ever want to always just be on that up, because you know how bad you can crash. And a lot of people are just stuck in the up, and that's what we see a lot of in the world. But that's not when we're really in our sort of best or higher self. We're sort of just running on instinct and burning ourselves out. Okay, and the hormones are just catabolic, breaking us down. So we haven't really ever had enough schooling around building ourselves up and regenerating ourselves and learning into self-care and mastering this aspect of the central nervous system, which is parasympathetic, and is highly related to the vagus nerve, which is a really big nerve in the body. It's very craniosacral related, and it innervates into all the organs and glands. So it's a really important nerve to simulate, or massage is another word, which we can do with the breathing, because it's very craniosacral. So cranium, brain, skull, sacral, sacrum, coccyx, right down there. So we can really use the breathing in a parasympathetic way with that intention to build more into this anabolic nervous system, rebuilding, regenerating, hormonally. Hormones are like the best drugs in our body that we need to learn a lot more of, because they run everything, absolutely everything. The centers stem from the centers of our brain and things. So glands, the health of our glands is the health of our hormonal system. So we need to learn how to, balance this seesaw out and really go into this deeply, because we have mastered this. We are conditioned to be in it. That is, ultimately awesome. I'm not going to say for them or whatever, but it's like, that's not our happy state, though. That's not really where
fight or flight.
That's not where the gold is. We get shit done, but do we actually feel good when we're in that state? It's not sustainable.
No.
So a lot of people can get that effect with breath work when they stimulate a hyperventilation style of breathing, which people can exercise into that, and they get that effect and they get that buzz, but it's just not sustainable. And it doesn't really work with the postural infrastructure in a very intentional way at all. So it actually further collapses your body and compresses your body.
Right.
And brings you further into, this issue that is just caning us. Like, we're just so exhausted as a human race.
Yes.
People will
Yes.
never admit it. We're kind of all really contorted and
Lopsided. Yep.
compressed and like
Yes.
so strained. And
Yes.
because we're not decompressing ourselves on a day-to-day basis, we're not coming home and, you know, building the regenerative hormones and really gifting that to ourselves, because that's what makes our body feel so good. And it's like, we just need to get a taste for that again. And so with the breathing, you can really start entering into that. Oh, this is feeling good. Deep parasympathetic innovation is like, it's quite a beautiful DMT experience. Can get quite beautiful and just really, like sensual, but
Yes.
not in a hypersexualized way.
No.
In a very just deeply connected to yourself, your sensual intelligence way. So yeah, and anabolic, we want to build ourselves up, regenerate our hormonal health, decompress, our posture, our spine, our joints. And it's kind of like blowing up a balloon in a bottle. It will just, like, if the can is kind of all compressed, if we blow up a balloon in the bottle, it will just all uncrinkle.
Yes.
So we're learning to use these, lung cavities, the digestive cavity, the pelvic floor cavity, to kind of expand and relax and increase the pressure. Decompression forces is what we're learning to navigate and induce in the human body again. And it's like an aerating kind of feeling where you start feeling light again, and decompressed and massaged from the inside out, which is what we're all dying for, is massage, right?
Yes.
We all love a good massage, but
yes.
really the ultimate massage we need is a vagus nerve massage.
Tell us.
Because it's a spinal, main spinal nerve. We have to massage internally. And we can only use our breath to do that. We can't just press hands in there from the outside in. It's never going to work. So if you look at a vein or an artery, same with a nerve passageway, there's all these conductors, and, with fascia or muscles that are kind of around the nerve or whatnot, we can pump, kind of like a blood pressure pump. If you squeeze your finger on and off, you do it for me now. You do it for me. Yeah.
Everybody do it. Squeeze
So
your pointer finger on and off.
It. Yeah.
Squeeze,
so you're
release.
sort of going to be, when you squeeze,
Yep.
you're inhaling and you're creating a compression force.
Yes.
And then as you exhale, you're sort of starting to open it all up, and it softens and relaxes. Right? So you're getting like a dilation and an inflation effect on all these arteries and veins and nerves in the body. So you're flossing is a word I like to use. You're flossing the central nervous system, veins, arteries, ligaments, tendons, everything's getting an impulsive wave-like simulation. Another word to use. Yeah.
And I love how much you use the word oscillation in your work. And I think that is, prior to learning with you, Courtney, I had done very minimal breath work. And I'm actually really glad that I didn't do much other than, and then came across your work, because I actually believe it's far superior to anything else out there. And what I loved about it is the way we would study jellyfish and look at the movement and the pulsation of the jellyfish.
Returning to the jellyfish impulse, for sure.
To me, just naturally felt deeply instinctive, deeply natural, deeply feminine, and grounding, as opposed to high, fast paced anything. I was like, hold on, no. This slow and deep and wide and rhythmic and fluid and wide was like, oh no, here we're here. Okay, this is something special. This is something very special. And it didn't take long before myself and pretty much the whole group and groups that you were training in Peru with us, you could feel and see people getting it very quickly and,
Yeah.
you know, going very, very deep into their personal home experience, like you said,
Mm,
within, and
mm,
having incredible results.
mm,
And one of the obvious results was this, you know, pleasure,
mm,
absolute, you know, rising of kundalini energy,
mm,
sensual experience. And
mm.
look, can you tell us about that? I mean, even walking us toward full blown DMT
Yeah.
experiences. This is what breathing can bring us. Tell us.
Well, one of the more advanced kind of courses that I am setting up is called sort of sexual alchemy, or you could call it sensual alchemy, because
Yes.
it's not really going into the big gear of even working with another until you really know how to move your own energy around first
Mm.
within your
Yes.
body. We can't
Yes.
really, because anyone can breathe when you're just relaxed,
Mm.
but learning how to use breathing as a tool to build arousal energy
Yes.
is just a whole nother cup of tea.
Mm.
A lot of our arousal energy is just being wasted, and we have lower chakra or lower body orgasms. We don't ever build up that arousal energy during lovemaking or sexual interaction, whether it's with ourselves or another. So we're just sort of wasting that energy, and it's just depleting us so
Mm.
radically. And of course it is a great release or whatever, but if you just do it that way for a long time, you'll never really build yourself up. You're going to just waste yourself radically. So it's learning how to just mature your sexual sensual self, as well, and learning how to work with your breath to move the arousal energy up, and so that we actually are orgasming out of the crown and temples.
Yes.
That's the point of orgasm, where the point of orgasm should be.
Yes, that's right. So that I'd love to talk into that, you know,
Mm.
like what we know is available through breath.
Yeah, well, it's just something that you need to learn how to harness, like during with working with yourself first and foremost is the biggest foundation, because it's another next level when you're working with someone else. The arousal energy with someone else as opposed to just yourself is going to be 10 times more as well. So I just always start with self practice. But even before working with arousal energy, as I say, just start learning how to move that wave like an eightfold through your torso, just starting with the belly breathing even, and then
Mhm.
bringing it up into the thorax. And then when you get really comfortable with that breath illumination practice that I teach people as a foundation for habilitation, holistic habilitation, then you can start learning into temple acoustics, which brings the vocal cords into the equation and really starts amplifying the cellular resonance, and the DNA, activating all the DNA strands. There's nothing more potent than our own ketones, our own vocal ketones. You have a beautiful voice, Chrissie, and I wish
Thank
I
you.
had your voice, but still, my body and my cells need to hear my own voice
Mm.
into
Mm.
my immediate space, but
Mm.
also amplified down through the fluid body into my own body.
Mm.
So it's all about us all just really getting in touch with that and using that as a superpower to radically heal ourselves and activate our DNA big time.
Mm.
So it's nuclear. This is the word I was looking for. It's nuclear energy we
Mm.
have inside us. So that building the connectivity and flossing the central nervous system with circular, deep diaphragmatic breathing brings us into a serious, nuclear resonance. Like we are just on this massive glow up. I feel like there's almost an implosion energy building inside of us, and that's what you learn to work with when you learn to expand your cavity spaces. You're sort of starting to build into this feeling of an implosion energy, where you're sort of feeling like pressure. You're working with cavity pressures.
Mm.
But then in the relaxation and the dilation and the contraction of all the different levels of our body, it's in the relaxation and the opening that all the nourishment flushes into all the passageways and it gets to all the cells. But it's in the contraction that we kind of get the pump. So it's like
Mm.
we've got to be able to work with expansion and contraction. We never want to stay in contraction all the time, most people are breathing like this, you know, or like, you know, really tight, short, shallow breathing their whole life. They never actually, you know, open that intrinsic infrastructure of the posture up and open into a bigger, fuller breath to work with the cavity pressures. But we can't work with the central nervous system and that energy, that life force that we have and need to really ultimate our connection with now more than ever. It has to be done through this mechanical drive that we can create in the body.
What I love about learning from you is how incredibly thorough your understanding of our physiology in an esoteric way actually is. So there's a lot of breath work out there that you know, focuses on just a few parts of the body, whereas yours, you have knowledge and understanding of how breath and energy move through every single part of, and that is, I mean, really, it becomes a cosmic experience, if you like. You know, it's very easy to feel our multidimensionality through your work very quickly.
It's hard to not be it's hard to not speak like that when you have gone on that deep journey with yourself, because you start to understand how the universe works, and you get so many aha moments during the breathing. It brings you to tears laughing so many times, like in the layers, you know, of the onion as they're coming off, and you know, you're moving into that circular breathing and getting more and more comfortable with it, and you're just flossing that central nervous system. That's all you need to do, is just keep in that wave like mechanism. Just enhance that mechanism, and you get, you know, wider and, you know, fuller, and work with those different dimensions more and more. But if you just stick with that mechanism, you'll just peel those layers of the onion off, clean and clear your fluid body, really heighten your connection to your primordial waters, you know, which is that cerebral glow up effect that you build into. And much like that jelly, you're really in that state of just that jellyfish. By that time, you're just nothing but the jellyfish in the end. Like, you really have died a million times, like through so many ego deaths. You're like, who am I? What am I? But you get so deep.
I'm a jellyfish. I'm simply a jellyfish.
I am the primordial waters. Yeah, yes. There's no separation between me and the fluid. I am the fluid. I'm pumping the fluid. I'm just the consciousness pumping the fluid. I'm just in it. It's innate to us all, you know. This primary respiration is what we die into. We all, in essence, die into the vagus nerve, or this cerebral primary respiration. You know, even after we die into, you know, we just die, we're still our body's still sort of pumping less and less, I guess, over like 20 minutes or so. So our consciousness dies into that. We rest into that. And that's our transition time, actually. So that's a huge thing to exercise into before we die, actually.
Wow. Exercise into the vagus nerve. Is that what you're saying?
Exercise into the primary respiration. Yeah, that innate, deep oscillation that's in you. And so that's what we help to facilitate that. And because we're working so deep into just this circulation of this wave-like fashion in the body, it's just the breathing exercise that I've created. It's and plant medicine has really helped me understand into it more and attune it more and more and more. Through many deaths. Hasn't been easy.
I saw a few of those.
You've seen a few of those. Whoa, yeah. But it's like, it's through those deaths that you go into the death, and then you realize, what is the essence of you, and how can I help this mechanism? Because that, when that is enlightened, and when that is getting reinforced, is the word I was looking for, then we really touch on our God-like state, or our connection to, you know, the supreme being, which is all just hydroelectrical. In nature, actually, we're beyond the ego, we are beyond the mind, we are embodied. Our mind is embodied completely. there's no separation between the mind or the cognition, we are totally involved in our whole body. We're supreme beings, and that's why I use the ankh, as a ultimate symbol for what the breath work brings us into, is our heart field resonance and opening into our central intelligence and grounded parasympathetic involvement.
So speaking about the ankh, I know that you have drawn a huge amount of inspiration. And in fact, I actually feel that we were hanging out together in ancient Egypt. And I mean that. And so tell us what you about the inspiration that you draw from them in this symbology, in these sort of energetic frequencies and codes. Tell us.
It's also what you were sort of talking about a bit before. It's like when you touch into this deepest sense of self, which is the primary respiration, the primordial waters, the cerebral effect. When you tap into that, you get in touch with the most primal instincts and knowings, of what life is or needs to return to or has always been about.
Yep.
But there's just so much oppression, of these awarenesses, or they've been developing our ego, the speed of light, so that we stay out of touch with our spiritual wellness, and also sexual wellness. So it's actually really quite simple. The ankh is that supreme being and that eternal life and that immortality from the Native African cultures. We can just take so much wealth of knowledge from their spirituality. Same too with the Indigenous Australia. I want to say Australian, but all the Indigenous cultures, they just have a wealth of knowledge that we need to acknowledge and learn to listen to and learn to bring back into our awareness and heal. We need to help them heal, because they are they will be our saving grace to rehabilitating the human race.
Yes,
big time.
Yes, and there's a connection, isn't there? Like, I remember on your Instagram page, which doesn't exist anymore, but they used to. There was so much inspiration there around conductivity, electrical conductivity, and the ankh. Can you tell us about that? About the electric impulses with and their relation to the breath work?
Yeah. So it's all about like with the ankh, it's about circulating the energy. See how the head, rather than a cross, has a sphere, like a circle, it comes back around. So this is all about the electrical, masculine and feminine, coming together in the center and circulating the energy. The supreme being has optimal circulation, and that's all around conductivity, connectivity, and creation of energy. But the energy can't necessarily leave us unless we just given it to something, which we all actually are most often. But if we just learn how to really harness our energy and circulate it within, we build our vitality tenfold. So if we just learn how to harness that conscious attention and build ourselves up, and I don't mean in any egotistic way, I mean in energetically.
Anabolically.
It doesn't actually take much. It really doesn't. Just a bit of concentrated composure. Every day, or even every second day. It sort of just should be a little self-loving, self-care ritual that we do.
Yes.
Which is really the center of our spirituality, and without all the flunks and fluffy stuff. It's just about getting our energy clear and clean energy, pure electricity. So that when our spirit is able to move through our body freely and can be built up, like an implosive energy, we'll just have the biggest glow up effect happening. And it doesn't take much. It just takes some serious learning into, and that's in the healing of our cells. Like, it's a big process, and that can take, anywhere. It's so different for everybody, because we've all had such a unique journey, and all of our ancestors have had such a huge journey, and this is a big part of this, going in and healing our tissues, is healing our ancestors. So it doesn't matter what culture you've come from, or what lineage. We all have such an important role to do now, is to go into our cells, into our tissues, and just heal the circulation and decompress the viscera, the soft tissues, the organs and glands that are our spirituality. So will enable our spirituality, which is just a connection to a higher self, or higher something, that's innate. We can all connect with this beautiful thing, which just feels like home. It's really healing, and it feels good, and that's how you know you're home.
Yeah, that's how you know. And these sort of systems of breath work that, like you say, are anabolic and that build, you obviously see an expansion and a strengthening and a fortifying of the electromagnetic field, right?
Yeah. And it also, when we're moving the circulation in the bodies in a circulatory way, we're also flushing the bone matrix and building our bone density. So, that's where all our DNA is produced and everything like that. So it's really important. Stem cells production, just the deep healing that we need in our bodies in order to sincerely move into a new earth vision that works well for us all, and planet Earth and Father Sky, and like all this. We need to heal ourselves, we need to heal our bones, we need to decompress ourselves, we need to learn into deep parasympathetic innovation and use that as medicine to feed ourselves, like feed off parasympathetic hormones. We can nourish ourselves with parasympathetic hormones. It will be better than food.
I bet.
More powerful than food. You can live off air, and you can live off these hormones if you really know how to do it. Yeah.
Far out. That's so inspiring. I also remember that from Peru, when you would teach us around the sort of allowing space and air and energy through the bone matrix, and that would just blew my mind. And being conscious of that as you're breathing is just something else. And it leads me to a question. This massive shift of consciousness that we are undergoing on the planet. We know that our bodies are moving from sort of a carbon based structure to silica. We are evolving, into crystalline beings, literally, physically. Do you think that is connected to what you were just saying? Yeah, tell us.
Well, there's like a crystalline grid within as well, as the planet, Mother Earth has these sacred sites all related. It's kind of like seeing the glands in the body as sacred sites as well. And so the crystalline sort of matrix is almost like the fascial matrix. If you haven't studied into fascia, please do, and look at it. It's amazing. And I do post a lot about it through the mystery school, so people can learn about it, because it's such an incredible organ, in fact, visceral organ, the fascia. So that's where we can build this electrical charge. It's just surrounding every organ, gland, muscle, tissue, cell, So if we can build that conductivity through the fascia, it's hydroelectric effect. So we have to use the breathing to move the fluid body, into a deep parasympathetic state. And then we get this nice kind of alchemy with the feel-good hormones and the endorphins, and it lights it up it's beautiful. Yeah. I don't know where I was going with that, but
we're talking about you're moving into silica, moving into a finer frequency, crystalline, structure. Even
the aeration as well. Like when you work with your breath and you learn how to fill up your cavities, it's like the metaphor of learning to fly. You can raise your vibration and like literally raise your organs and glands up millimeters in your posture. because the infrastructure is sitting well and the fascia is uplifting, and you get a complete like an anti-gravity effect in your body, like a levitational effect in your body with the breath work, and that adds to the feel good repercussions
Yes.
to the glow up.
Yes, and remembering, using the breath illumination practice with plant medicines is really, really something else. I mean, I having, being a pretty dedicated student of Wachuma medicine now for nearly 10 years, and I have to admit the most powerful journey that I have had on Wachuma was last year, and it was it began with a very conscious session of your breath work. I was like, okay, here we go. All right, let's drop in absolutely as deep as we can, and far out. What happened that day and where I went, it was okay. This is a really very powerful tool for
it's so necessary,
maximizing our experience with plant medicines.
Absolutely, especially in today's world. Like, we've been lucky to kind of really explore it before it's heightened into quite a big global, well-known thing that's not so oppressed anymore. They're almost being a bit hijacked, though. We've got to be really mindful to make sure we have a solid groundwork of mind-body correlation and grounding before we go into the plant medicines these days. So it's just lots of entity stuff to be aware of, and
totally
the big stuff, and just how they're made, who you're sitting with, who's leading you, who's helping support this. But most importantly, are you able to guide yourself through it with the breath? But the breathing is everything to move through a ceremony like that. If you can't really connect deeply with yourself during that, then the foundations are not safe, really, in fact, to do it. I don't think. You've got to be really grounded in your soft tissues.
I'd like to encourage everyone out there, actually, with the breathing and the plant medicines. Like you said, finding the right setting and doing the groundwork. But like where it can take you is absolutely incredible. We all have the access to that. Like, we all can actually just walk the path steadily and with integrity, but reach for something absolutely phenomenal, cosmic, multidimensional. It's really very much a remembering of everything we are, and I so want to encourage people to like really feel into the big picture of what is available with breath
and we
work.
Can't do it without the breath, without the medicine. I agree. It's
interesting.
I would be nowhere with this body work without the plant medicine and the animal medicine. And just the country and the land spirit. But it's all so important to open into in the right circumstances at the right time. For sure.
Yes. Oh, Dallin, it's been so beautiful to speak to you. And thank you so much for coming into the kitchen today and sharing about your incredible path, your incredible knowledge. I mean, we literally just took a tip of a little finger and just touched on the top of an iceberg of what I feel is lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes of an accumulation of deep esoteric wisdom that you hold, Courtney. And
we all hold. We all have this subconscious mind that has it all stored in there. We just got to touch on it and enlighten it.
Beautiful. So true. And we will publish, all your links underneath and afterwards from this podcast. So if anyone is interested to get in touch with Courtney and to jump into her trainings and her sessions and her, into her schools, her mystery schools, and learn and get deep into this, or even just begin on the journey with this, I highly encourage you to do so. because
Thanks,
she
Chrissie.
is, you are just a
It
gem
is
on the
such
planet.
a wonderful journey, and I can't tell you how fulfilling it is to just go on your own deeper subconscious journey of enlightenment. Yeah.
Right on, sister.
Bring it
High
on.
five. Bring it on. It's so time. It is so time for all of us to keep committed to our path of evolution. Not one of us should be slowing down or thinking that we've done enough or we've evolved. No, we all got to keep going, every single one of us, you know.
Absolutely constant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chrissie, for everything you're doing in the world. And you're a shiny, shiny one that is doing hard, awesome work. And we all really appreciate you. So, yeah.
Oh, thank you, Courtney.
Keep doing what you're doing.
I will. You got it, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Bye for now.
Bye, darling.
Bye.